Alrighty, yo, we're just going on for Box Bill. This is DDG94 back with another reaction video. Today we're going to react to who really owns each era. Without further ado, let's get right into it.
So NBA 2K just brought 5 different eras to their game, and nearly every era was named specifically after certain players. As in the case of many things, this got social media in a frenzy, as everyone began debating who the eras actually belong to. According to 2K, there is the Magic and Bird era, the Jordan era, the Kobe era, the LeBron era, and the modern era. Well, considering the fact that I love basketball history and have a YouTube channel specifically dedicated to it, I figured I might as well give my perspective on them. Not only will I be saying whether or not I agree with 2K's choices, but I will also be giving titles to the earlier eras that 2K does not address. So without further ado, let's get into it. The first era that needs to be given a title was when the NBA was in its infancy, which is essentially the 1950s.
Damn.
For this one, there's basically no argument for anyone else. Without a shadow of a doubt, this was the George Mikan era.
Okay, that's
During
fine.
this stretch of time,
That's
Mikan
fair.
led his Lakers to win 4 championships in a span of 5 years, as the clear best player on his team. In that time, he also won several scoring titles and rebounding titles, as there was no question who the best player was in the game during that era. Next up is the 1960s. You guys know how much I love and respect Wilt Chamberlain on my channel, but let's be real, there's
It's the
absolutely
Russell
no
era. It's not
argument for anyone other than Russell.
Brother, you ain't gotta explain it. We already know. It's Bill Russell. It's Bill Russell. You ain't even gotta explain it, bro. 11 titles. Ain't nothing else to be said, bro. R.I.P. to Bill Russell.
During this era, as I'm labeling the 1960s the Bill Russell era. In that decade, Russell led his team to win 9 out of a possible 10 championships, and the only other team who won a title was the 76ers, who were led by Chamberlain. You could argue that Russell and Chamberlain should have shared that era, just like Magic and Bird for the 80s, but the 9 championships to only 1 is just too big of a gap for me to make it make sense.
Yep.
I don't care if Chamberlain had averaged 70 points per game over that decade. It doesn't change the fact that the Celtics were the model of excellence in the 1960s, and it was Russell who won more chips than any other player in NBA history. Next, we're looking at the 1970s, and this is a bit of a tricky one. From an individual perspective, there's no question that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was the most talented and statistically dominant player over the course of that decade.
Just give it to
But
Kareem.
unfortunately, he only got 1 championship in that decade. And are we really about to name an entire era after a player who only reached the mountaintop once?
I mean, to be fair, he's the most popular face, though. So it's like, if we going back to the 70s, who was more popular than Lou Cinder or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, whatever you want to call him? Who was popping more than him? It had to be his era. Who was a real star in this era? Everybody was on cocaine around this time. This was not a good era of basketball. This is an era that the NBA likes to forget about, bruh. This is when everybody was on cocaine, bruh. Real talk. This is when players were having drug addictions. Bad ones too. They was blowing coke at halftime. I think it's best if we give this to Kareem. I wouldn't want no crackhead to be the face of this goddamn era. Just give it to Kareem, bruh. Just give it to Kareem.
In the 70s, the Celtics won more championships than anyone else, but that was just a grand total of 2, and the stardom of those teams was pretty evenly split between Dave Cowens and John Havlicek. If we're being honest, this era is famous for the fact that it didn't contain a single dynasty team, as there were many different winners over the course of the decade. For this reason, I would not title this era after a single player, but instead, I would call it the parity era, because it's the ultimate example of a balanced level of competition within the league.
I mean, if you want to be fair.
Next is the 1980s, and this won't take me very long because of course 2K got this one right,
Facts.
as this was definitely the Magic and Bird era.
Ain't
Between
even a
these
question.
two legendary superstars, they won 8 out of a possible 10 championships, and
But there is an argument to be made for Isaiah Thomas, too. There is an argument to be made. He beat them niggas more than anybody. Well, he beat Bird and Magic more than anybody. He beat Bird and Jordan more than anybody. Magic, it's a toss-up.
between the two of them, they represented every single NBA Finals series that decade. I imagine some diehard Pistons fan might try to shoehorn Isaiah Thomas into the conversation, but he technically only won a single championship that decade, as the second one was the beginning of the 1990s. And as much as I respect Thomas's talent, he never won a single MVP award, unlike Magic and Bird, who won several. Without question, this is correctly named the Magic and Bird era.
Yeah.
Now, the 1990s. Just like the decade before, this is an easy choice.
Facts.
This is appropriately named the Michael Jordan era.
Ain't even a
The
question.
Bulls won 6 out of a possible 10 championships that decade, and Jordan was the finals MVP in every one of those cases.
Yep.
Along with that, MJ was pretty much universally recognized as the best player during that era.
He was the face of the
anyone
90s.
who disagreed just likely wanted to be different.
He was the face
Some
of the
might
90s.
try to say that Hakeem should share the title of this era with
No,
MJ, but I think that's a little
no. It's not even close. Because who is Hakeem Olajuwon? Was Hakeem Olajuwon in Space Jam? I think not. Does Hakeem Olajuwon have a shoe that was made in the 80s and the 90s and still selling to this day? I think not. I mean, listen, we'll give Hakeem his props. He did his thing. But this was the Jordan era, bruh. It's not even close. Jordan was a fucking superstar. This was the first time. Like, Hakeem Olajuwon did not move the game of basketball the way Jordan did. Like, Hakeem just won some championships in the middle. That's really all it is.
little generous to the dream, considering how MJ has 3 times the amount of rings that Olajuwon has, and 4 times the amount of MVPs. I could unnecessarily go over his long list of accolades in that decade, but you guys get it.
Yep.
He was Michael Jordan, and that was his era.
Yep.
Now for the 2000s, and this is where things get really interesting. 2K decided to give the title exclusively to Kobe Bryant, and obviously, by them doing that, the biggest omission is the San Antonio Spurs legend, Tim Duncan. Imagine getting 5 championship rings as the leader of your team and not getting an era. Now, if you force me to pick one or the other, I do think there is a slightly better argument for Kobe Bryant than for Tim Duncan.
Yeah.
The funny thing is that Duncan has consistency working in his favor, but that advantage quickly becomes a disadvantage when you limit the comparison to one specific era. Let's look at the 2000s. During this era, Kobe's Lakers won 4 championship rings, while Tim Duncan's Spurs won 3. The Lakers made it to the NBA Finals a total of 6 times, while the Spurs only made it 3 times. And when they met each other in the playoffs, Kobe's team eliminated the Spurs 4 times, and Duncan's team eliminated the Lakers only once.
Yep.
Unless you value regular season wins over actual championships, then there's no question that Kobe's team won significantly more during this era. Now, inevitably, many of my friends who are Spurs fans will then try to redirect Kobe's success exclusively towards Shaq, as if Kobe didn't earn any of that success.
If anything, you could say that this was the Shaq and Kobe era. You could say that, because technically they both did win 4 rings in this time frame. In this decade alone, they won 4 rings, 3 together, one by themselves, or one without the other. Tim Duncan does have a case in this too. But I would just say this is the Kobe and Shaq era, because these two We're in the finals mostly for the most part. I would say this is the Kobe and Shaq era. I can't really say it's just the Kobe era. Shaq had a big part in this era too.
These are the numbers Kobe averaged in the playoffs against the Spurs while he was teammates with Shaq. And these are the numbers that Shaq put up in that same stretch against San Antonio. Many people have forgotten or just never realized that Kobe was arguably the best player on the court whenever they squared off with San Antonio. And heck, even in the one instance where Shaq wasn't involved, Kobe's Lakers still defeated the Spurs while he put up these strong numbers.
Yep.
So if I'm being forced to pick exclusively either Duncan or Kobe, then I'm going with Kobe.
Yep.
But my question is, why should I have to pick one or the other? Magic and Bird share the 1980s podium. Yet when you look at the two head to head, it's clear that Magic won way more in that era than Bird did.
Yep.
So based on the precedent set by 2K, it should be the Kobe and Duncan era. It makes zero sense that Magic should have to share the era with Bird.
But it's marketing. They got the man on the cover. Tim Duncan's not on the cover. Kobe's on the cover. So you know it's marketing. Probably next year they'll change it to the Duncan and Kobe era or the Shaq and Kobe era. But because of marketing, it's the Kobe era.
When Kobe doesn't have to share the era with Duncan. If the decision was ultimately up to me, I would disagree with 2K and would have made it the Kobe and Duncan era, regardless of the fact that Kobe may have had the slightly better case individually. Next is the 2010s, which 2K labeled the LeBron era.
Nah.
And
this one I don't agree with at all. I think this is the LeBron and Curry era. I don't care what y'all say. This is the LeBron and Curry era. This is the LeBron and Curry era. LeBron dominated the first half. Curry dominated the last half. Even if he only won 3 rings. He won 3 rings. LeBron won 3 rings. Curry eliminated LeBron more than LeBron eliminated Curry. You know, yes, LeBron had multiple finals appearances. Went on a great ass run. But let's be real. Curry has an argument for this era being his. It's not even a debate, bro.
Is also spicy. Most people consider LeBron as the greatest player since the turn of the millennium. But when you narrow it down to one specific decade, I can see how Steph Curry fans were triggered by the dismissal.
Yep.
In the decade of the 2010s, LeBron won 3 NBA championships, and Steph Curry also won 3. LeBron made it all the way to the NBA Finals 8 times, and Steph made it to the Finals 5 times. When the two met up in the playoffs, LeBron's team eliminated Steph only once, while Curry's team eliminated LeBron a total of 3 times. Yes, I agree that LeBron was the best player over the course of that decade, but consider what Steph did in that window. He won back-to-back MVPs,
unanimous,
the first unanimous MVP in NBA history.
73-9.
He led his team to the best single-season record of all time, and led his team to the best single postseason record of all time as well. He broke numerous records. He had the greatest 50-40-90 season of all time, all while winning an equal amount of championships to LeBron. Not only does he deserve the respect, but he was legitimately a rival to LeBron James during that era. So again, if you're going to have both Magic and Bird, then how are you just going to pick LeBron in this instance? 2K
it's
really
politics.
Screwed this one up. And in case you can't tell, I completely...
This is politics. This is LeBron. This is 2K trying to cater to LeBron because they're trying to get him on the cover. When LeBron retires, they want to make sure that he is exclusively on the cover. They're going to do for him like they did for Kobe and just like they did for Jordan. They're going to make sure that LeBron has his own 2K dedicated to him when he finally fucking retires. Which probably might be next season. Who knows?
completely disagree with them, as I would have titled it as the LeBron and Steph era. The last era on the list is simply described by 2K as the modern era, and honestly, I think that's the correct call. A lot of players in the modern game are still early in their careers, and if 2K hypothetically called this, say, the Nikola Jokic era, and then Giannis went on to win 2 or 3 more championship rings, then that would age incredibly poorly.
Yep.
As of now, keep a player's name off of it, and let the players write the history for themselves. So what do you guys think? Did NBA 2K get the eras right, or is there something that you would have changed if the decision was ultimately up to you? I look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments section below. Thanks for watching as always, make sure to like and subscribe for more basketball content, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
I mean, he was pretty on point. Like I said, I would have gave Shaq more leeway in the 2000s. That's just me personally. I feel like if you three-peat and then you win an extra ring, I feel like that's more deserving than somebody who wins a ring and just bleak and at the most randomest of times. Now, granted, the Spurs did win 3. 2003, 2005, 2007, they did win 3. But that don't fuck with a three-peat, though. I just feel like a three-peat is more. And plus, Shaq was Finals MVP of all them three-peats. Like, let's be real, bro. We glossing over. Like, bro, I don't get the Shaq disrespect, bro. I understand he wasn't the most fundamentally finesse and technical sound big man that we ever seen. He's not Tim Duncan level, but the man was Finals MVP 3 times in a row, 3-peated with Kobe, was a dominant force, was pretty much unstoppable around this time frame. Like, bro, we still have to give him his props now. And plus, Tim Duncan didn't win. Tim Duncan, out of the 3 championships, he only got 2 Finals MVPs. Out of them 3, he only got 2 Finals MVPs because the third one went to Tony Parker. So I think it's fair. Hey man, y'all need to start putting some respect on Shaq's name, bro. For real. But anyways, I'm just gonna about do it for this one. I'll see y'all next video. Till then, peace out.